For me, my mum was a nurse, and so I'm actually a qualified accountant, CPA or FCPA actually these days. And nursing wasn't my first choice, but I'd always realised that I'd been around that kind of caring culture. And, on my pupil-free days when I was in high school, she was a school nurse at one of a disability school here in Canberra. I'd go and hang out and paint and put on productions with the kids and that kind of stuff. And, I guess one of the, society tells you need a corporate career, you need a degree, you need to be married with 2 children, with a house and a massive mortgage in the suburbs and all the things. And so I kind of started to do some of that. And then I realized I was working in very high profile positions in government, and helping, I helped establish the NBN, the digital switchover, the offshore immigration and all that kind of stuff, getting the major budgets in and some of the things I was subject to. And I realized that no matter I was getting these big numbers through the door, the impact I could have on people was never enough.
Welcome to the Leaders of Influence podcast, the show where leadership is not a title. It's all about influence and impact. Each episode, I sit down with leaders who have built trust, moved teams, and shaped outcomes where it mattered most. No motivational quotes, just the decisions, the habits, and the pressure-tested principles that create real influence. If you want to lead with more clarity, credibility, and care factor, hit follow right now so you don't miss the next conversation. Now, let's get into today's episode. Welcome to the Find Your Influence podcast with Anton, where we talk all things influence because it's such a great topic. And it was born out of disc profiling. So the I in disc is influence. And someone asked me one day, how do you become 99% influence on a disc profile? And it was actually a really technical person who was a high D and a high C, which means direct and conscientious. And so, I spent a couple of years reflecting on that question. And then I decided to ask a couple of hundred people about influence. And here we are. And here's another great conversation that we're about to have on this amazing topic. Now, we've got 2 amazing humans to talk to today. The first one is Lisa Walker. Lisa is an ACT-based entrepreneur. For anyone that doesn't know, for anyone listening outside of Australia, that's Australian Capital Territory, which is a territory in Australia on its own. Lisa is a finance leader, a social impact advocate. I love that. Known for building and scaling, I love this, mission-led organisations in community care and health. Lisa is the CFO and co-founder of National Community Care and co-founder of HESTA Collective. I like that, HESTA Collective. Did I say that right?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, God. With a focus on improving health and social outcomes through disciplined financial stewardship, strong governance, and practical workforce solutions. At least 20 years across government and private enterprises, senior EL2 leadership roles in strategic budget development and financial management with the Department of Immigration and Border Protection. I cannot wait to hear more about that. And broadband, digital economy, the list goes on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce Natashia, and maybe also known as Tash.
Tash, yep, correct.
Tash, cool. Now, Natashia Telfer is a Canberra-based also community care leader and the director of care coordinator of National Community Care Proprietary Limited. 2015. That's a long journey. Led the organisation's work supporting people in the community, providing and combining hands-on care coordination with day-to-day leadership required to run a service care business or a care services business. Over the last 15 plus years, Tash has built a career across disability and community services, moving from frontline support into leadership and coordination roles. Her background includes leading teams as a disability support team leader, Catholic Care Canberra. Love that. My wife worked for the Catholic school system for many years. Community worker and all about care and continuing her care coordination with National Nursing Association Proprietary Limited since 2013. Welcome, Lisa and Tash. What have I forgotten?
She's also an author. She has her own book.
I love it. And what's the name of the book? Let's give it a shout out.
Project Kind.
Project Kind. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. Project Kind. So tell us about the book. Why write a book called Project Kind? Why does the universe, why do we need to know more about that project and the word kind itself?
It was more about instead of sounding like like a better word, wanky bio about a nobody. It was all the lessons that I've kind of learned along the way and in the industry and applying kindness to that to get us to where we are today. All the lessons. Some of them are silly, like don't drink tequila, it gives you cancer. Like through to how we onboard our team, things like that. So yeah.
Wow. I love that. I love it. My wife, as a teacher, as I alluded to, always used to say, be kinder than is necessary. And I love that as a saying. So, but I like that don't drink too much tequila too. I think that's a good message. So ladies, we're talking about the topic of influence, and you're influential in the care industry. So tell me a little bit about, maybe if you could first, for all our listeners and viewers, what does the word, the term, the concept of influence mean to you, please? And if I'm looking down, I'm writing.
Sorry, that was me. Yeah.
Either or.
Oh, yeah, go. Yeah.
I think for us, it's so hard these days. We've got young kids, so they think influence is having the most likes on your social media. For us, it is just having that positive impact and breeding that amongst our team members to want to be the conveyors of the message that we want to provide our community in looking after some of the most vulnerable people in our community, and getting the right people in our team to convey that influence, I guess, across our capitals nation is our goal.
Absolutely. I think that one of the biggest things as well is you never know the impact or influence that you have on anybody. So for us, like, we can only be like, with the work that we do, there is like, we have a lot of students that work with us, like uni students studying their registered nursing, or people like working at, like, studying at TAFE for their enrolled nursing and that type of thing. And we are only sometimes a small step in the part of their career, and then they come back to us years later and they're like, we just loved working for you, or you helped us. You helped frame this part of our career, or see that influence that you don't even know you're having. So important.
I love that both of you use the word impact, and it's such a common word that people use when they talk about influence. And I think influence is short term. I think we can all influence behavior, but what you've just mentioned there, ladies, is this longer term effect. I think when people remember you a year later, that's impact. That's a big deal. Wow, that's it. I think it's influence on steroids. I reckon that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Congrats.
Thank you.
And you said you're a small part of these people's career. I think you're probably undervaluing yourself, and I think for them, you're a major part of their journey.
Yeah, that's so true. Like, it's funny, we've got a staff member on our team at the moment. She's been with us for 8 years. We worked out the other day. And she started with us while she was studying at university. She went off and took a graduate program came back for a bit, went off and had a baby, came back for a bit, went off and did some aged care work. And then she came back to us again, mid 2023. And she just said to us, the word she used was, it feels like home. Right. And so, that was huge. That blew us away. She's one of our senior team members with us now, and we just value the contribution that she makes every day. And to watch her growth as well is really cool.
Wow, and that's special, because it's really rewarding in a leadership role like that you're in.
Yeah. Well,
Beautiful to hear.
Quite a few. We've got another one that works under her as well. She was our youngest employee ever. We hired her when she was just 17. So did a lot of Googling around what are the rights and whatnot that we need to do to make sure we're looking after her at the time. But when she came to us, one of the questions we always ask the team, that we're recruiting is, why us? Like, what draws you to us? And her answer was that when she was 14, 15, it was our company that provided her grandmother in-home care, that she saw our team members coming in every day. And that shaped her identity in wanting to become a nurse herself. And as soon as she got into her studies, she wanted to join the team that looked after her grandmother and saw her grandmother through in passing of her grandmother, and she's still with us today in her nearly mid 20s. Now studying a registered nursing. She's an enrolled nurse at the moment, but just so many stories like that where they just come back and
I just
share
loved
just a snippet of that, and it just blows us away every time.
she resides in Canberra with her auntie and uncle, and they came and knocked on our door recently. They were next door at the paint shop that we share a building with, and they were just knocked on the door to say thank you as well. Like, that was really, because at first we were like, oh my God, what's going on? But they talked about operations off Natash's husband, and just to say thank you, like, what? Like, that was amazing.
Oh, gee, you should be so proud of the contribution you're making to the planet. Keep up the good work, and we're gonna come back to that. You should just be doing these ones, I reckon. Well done. They're such beautiful stories. So in saying that, let maybe one at a time. How did you get started? Like, who influenced you to become a kind? Yeah, who influenced you to become kind, caring, these strong leaders that you are?
Yeah. So for me, my mum was a nurse, and so I'm actually a qualified accountant, CPA or FCPA actually these days. And so, nursing wasn't my first choice, but I'd always realized that I'd been around that kind of caring culture. And, on my pupil-free days when I was in high school, she was a school nurse at one of a disability school here in Canberra. I'd go and hang out and paint and put on productions with the kids and that kind of stuff. And, I guess one of the, society tells you need a corporate career, you need a degree, you need to be married with 2 children, with a house and a massive mortgage in the suburbs and all the things. And so I kind of started to do some of that. And then I realized I was working in very high profile positions in government, and helping, like I helped establish the NBN, the digital switchover, the offshore immigration and all that kind of stuff, getting the major budgets in and some of the things I was subject to. And I realized that no matter I was getting these big numbers through the door, the impact I could have on people was never enough. And my mum and dad had the agencies, the National Nursing Agency and National Healthcare Services, 2 of our entities now at the time. And I'd always worked for them. And so at 16 on the floor, I'd started as an assistant nurse. And, I'd always worked in, and so, the respect and integrity and humbleness and the life skills I learned looking after elderly people in an aged care situation with no formal training from the time I was 16 to the time I was 19, was huge. Like, there's no education that I could have got that would have taught me those absolute attributes. And so when my mum became unwell in 2013, I took over the businesses for them at that time, and the businesses were in quite bad shape. And so I had to look at what they were doing and why, and realized that I could contribute so much more, and what we needed and the focus that we needed to have needed to change. And so that's definitely my story. And so to have an impact, through that's huge. This one was working with my mum and dad at the time, and she's obviously got her own way as well. But I realized how freaking amazing she was as a carer on the floor, and said to her, "Come on board for this crazy journey," when she'll tell you the rest.
Yeah. So yes, she
Nice.
inherited me with the businesses. Call that bad debt or not, I'm yet to be determined.
They're stuck.
But essentially for me, my why was I was the complete opposite to Lisa. So Lisa was the high achiever, wanted to be good grades and all the rest of it. Both coming from strong family cultures that the daughter, the oldest, needs to set the path, all those things. And then at the wise age of 17, I just decided to blow it all up, and my parents knew nothing, and I was the runaway and all those things. So my trajectory was I was on the path to go to university, become a primary school teacher. That's what I wanted to do since preschool. I've literally had drawings saying that that's what I wanted to do. And then part of my rebellion was, screw uni, I'm not going to uni, but you, just because you want me to, I'm not. So using my fully developed brain at the age of 17, that's what I thought was best. That's the one. And then at the age of I was 18 turning 19, I then was diagnosed with stage 4B Hodgkin's lymphoma, and it was everywhere. So my shoulder joints, my underarms, my lungs, my abdomen, my hip joints, my spine, and my bone marrow. So my prognosis and projected lifespan was 3 months without treatment. I remember sitting there and they're telling me all the wonderful things that were going to happen. And at the age of 18 at that point, I was like, oh, I'll just I'm allowed to get in the clubs legally now. Like, well, I don't want to lose my hair. So I said to the specialist, well, what happens if I don't do chemo? Like, is that an option? And I could just feel the hot glare of my mum just burning in the side of my head. And she just stared at me. She's like, when can we book her in? So that was literally Friday. Monday, I was straight in for my first round of chemo. So had that going on for a good 6 months, experienced great doctors, shit doctors, staying with the carers and nurses, some of the most esteemed, educators at our Canberra health system here that did not have the bed manner that should go along with their resumes that looked amazing and all of those types of things. So it really made me kind of want to do my part in giving back to the community and be better at something that I felt was missing in that gap for me. So yeah, I bopped around for a little bit, never wanting to put my grown-up pants on and committing to a full-time role anywhere. So I just did loads and loads of study as I was going. I joined Lisa's mum at the time in the nursing agency to kind of get my feelers around everything, but not be committed to any one thing at any one stage. And then, yeah, as I said, she saw something in me that I didn't see myself at that point and said, what do you think about starting up something in community? And, probably for the first 5 years, it was probably, I still don't get it. I don't get why me. And yeah, we just took all of our knowledge from all of the years of us being on the floor, what we saw working in all of the places that we're across in Canberra, what we saw didn't work, what were their culture killers, what was really great that we wanted to try and emulate or improve. And that's where we began. And we just took all of our learnings from that and built what we think is a pretty cool go at it today.
Yeah.
Wow. Great stories, team. Great story. They're beautiful stories. Word culture comes up a fair bit, family culture, culture of care, and then there's culture killers. So, I feel like for you two, that like culture, the word culture strong, like I feel like that's something that will go through your organisation and you'll be really clear on what culture you're trying to achieve in your organisation.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it ties into influence, doesn't it? Without having that good culture,
Yeah. And I think that it comes from every level. And, like if you put the wrong person in any role and it breaks the culture, that is significant. And so, we try
the rotten apple effect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so for us, one of the philosophies we've always had is we can teach you skills and we can teach you learnings and how to do things, etc. But we can't teach you the culture. You need to either fit in or, don't be here, don't break it. It's special. Yeah. We love what we do.
And we say that in all of our onboarding, like your resume can look amazing, but if you can't, think for yourself or advocate for somebody that is vulnerable and can't do that for themselves and just use common sense, then, you're not for us. And unfortunately, resumes don't say that. If they did, we probably wouldn't believe them anyway.
Yeah.
It is one of those. It takes sitting in front of them and as lame as it is, it is the vibe.
The gut feel, feel, being someone,
the
energy. Yeah.
I love it. I like, and that was a great way to finish. Then don't break our culture. And if you, and then the next comment, if you can't change the person, change the person. So, no, I love that, and that's how strongly you feel about this. Wow.
Yeah. We actually did disc profiling of our team. It would have been end of 24.
Yeah.
And we actually found. Yeah. So, I mean, some of us were surprised, some of us not so surprised. I'd done it before. I knew exactly where I fit.
Can I have a guess? Can I have a guess?
Have a guess. Tell me. What do you think we are?
I would have thought probably D and I.
S,
and
DS.
probably DS. Oh, DS, right. And I'm going to say INS.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Love our dish profile. Isn't that such a cool tool?
It is.
Yeah. We've actually used it for applying to any of the roles that we're looking at here as well. So with our support coordinators, once we did it, we realized they're all S's, that people, and why wouldn't it be when we're in this industry? And we really loved the irony of it too. With the profile that's across from you is often the one that you repel the most, and that's Lisa and I. But we've been able to bring that together as a yin and yang. And Lisa might be direct in being able to say, I've asked you to do something. This is the way it is. I'm never going to say that to somebody, but I sure as heck will write all the processes and policies to support what I need you to do for your role, so I don't have to put on my big girl pants and have that conversation with you. And then if that fails, I'm going to handball you to Lisa. So we have a synergy that really worked for us.
Lisa's
kindly.
going to do a D on you.
Yeah.
You want to be D'd?
Yeah.
We can do this easy way or the hard one.
Yeah.
I love
D
it.
is a tough profile to be. I've had to learn a lot. I was a manager first when I was a manager when I was 19. And, I was like, why don't these teams why don't they like me? But I realized you can't lead with an iron fist. Like, you have to be part of the people and the way that you approach people. And it's exactly the same back to our for training, in dementia care and, in working with disabilities, that you need to get people on board and along with you to understand the end goal, to then make sure you get there. And so I can go do this right now. I do this with my kids. I've got 2 teenagers. And so I go, I lose my mind at them. And then I'm like, why aren't they doing it? Oh, hang on. Let's go back and go, let's get to this end goal. What do we all want to do here? Yeah.
Because their brains aren't fully developed
Not
and they're
yet.
not on the same
Not yet.
wavelength. I love it, Lisa. Thanks for sharing. And I love how important, and I love the fact that a caring culture sees how important it is to understand each other, because you won't build a strong culture without strong communication. And that's the power of DISC. It helps us communicate with each other in each other's styles and understand each other's styles.
Exactly.
Whoa. For all of our listeners and our viewers, you've heard it here from Tash and Lisa. Get your DISC profile done. And if you need to do that, reach out. We can help you with that. Sorry, team. Shameless plug along the way. So that's who's influenced you. And you've probably shared some of the, some of the people that you've influenced as well. Who are you most proud of? And it's probably some of these young nurses. And I know I've asked this, you've probably answered this question already. Maybe there's another question to ask. No, is there someone who are you most proud of? Maybe it's a client. Go, Tash.
No, I'm most proud of her.
Oh, you're most proud of Tash. Oh, girl. Whoa,
Absolutely.
I love that. Oh, that's so
So we
cool.
actually were invited by Beyond Blue here in Canberra to speak. She's laughing. We've got a really great photo of it, actually. So I got to speak with, or both of us got to speak with Jeff Kennett and our chair at the time, who was the chair of Beyond Blue at the time. This was back, I think, 2015 maybe. So we got a room full of 400 people, and we'd worked meticulously on our presentation. And on the morning of our presentation, Tash said to me, I'm not going to speak. And she didn't. And she stood beside me the whole time.
We got up there at the lectern, and Lisa was doing her big highlighted part that she printed out, and mine was in my pink font. And then she's like, and I just went, and Lisa carried on through and carried us through it. That was just no.
Now she speaks internationally, and in rooms full of hundreds of people, on podcasts. She's been on TV. Well, we both were. So funny story. So yeah, we got to speak at the Australian Embassy in Paris in 23, and stuff as well. So, for me to watch her growth and development all the while, obviously going through IVF, and having 2 brand new babies, postnatal depression, all those kind of things. So to watch her growth from literally next to her and the person that she has become and developed blows me away every time. And just to see that's probably the person I am most grateful and proud of. She's held me up through, I've been through some pretty significant, like a marriage breakdown with pretty bad domestic violence involved. And she supported me and my family through that whole thing as well. And just kept the businesses running while I'd gone to water at the other end as well. So I think, again, the yin yang thing, we just stand up and get it done. We're here for each other and our families, and everything we build now is for them going forward, and we want them to have the same values. So we do a lot of charity and give back as well, and we make sure the kids are involved in that every single time. Yeah.
Whoa. I didn't expect that answer. Wow. Involved. Sheesh. That is amazing to see you two so connected and to see you so proud of each other and so supportive of each other. That is extremely special. You got a great, you know,
Well,
you got
I
something.
think it's because of all of that when we started, it was very, we knew our little dinghy boats were very much tethered together. Like they, if one drifted off, the other one drifted with it. And since, divorce, IVF, losing, mental capacity in the midst of breakdowns and
Those diagnosed with ADHD.
yeah, 40
Surprise.
40+ ADHD diagnoses and everything in between. And it's probably only been in the last 2-3 years that we've actually gone, they're not really tethered together anymore. We're literally in the one dinghy,
Yeah.
out, with our families, we are now in the one boat.
Same boat. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that saying, dinghies tethered together. I'll have to scratch that out. We're in the same boat, rowing in the same direction.
Sometimes, don't get us wrong. Sometimes
Oh,
we're
of course.
pedaling the wrong way. We're going around in circles, but we get there.
Yeah, I was going to
Yeah.
say.
Takes a
But
little longer.
sometimes do you do circles in the boat trying to work out which way you're going?
Exactly. Yeah. But we always come up with a good solution.
Yep.
And, we're still here and doing our thing every day. And I think,
We're both rowing. That's the most important thing. Even if it's in circles, it's because we're both rowing.
Yeah.
I love it. And I've got to ask, given that I know disc profiling, I want to say, Lisa, you're a DS, so you've got sort of a fast and a slow, but the D is going to make you quite the decision maker. You won't think much. You certainly aren't a C, so you won't be looking for detail. Whereas Tash is more about the detail. Tash is probably going to try and slow down things just to make sure we've got everything in a row. Is that the way that it goes generally?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right, okay.
I'm like, this is what we're doing. I've got an idea. Or what do you think of this?
That's right.
But I don't want to make it happen.
Yeah. Because they'll come and go,
No,
hold
that's
on.
right.
Yeah, like it might be that there is an employee that is ready to be terminated. Like, yes, that is written on the wall, but hold on. Process. Yeah, due process, all those amazing policies. Yeah,
And care for them at the same time.
And again,
because
it's to make sure
we're
that
going to
there's
do
no
Project Con.
holes punctured in our dinghy. Like that. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. You two make such a great team. It's it's rare to find such two great partners that are so, I guess, both connected, but from a communication and from a profile perspective, is so perfectly aligned to support each other and work well together. Hey, tell me about you mentioned quickly the TV thing. What happened on telly?
During COVID lockdown, obviously we didn't stop. Like our businesses continued in healthcare and aged care, disability services. And so for a number of years prior to lockdown in March 2020, we'd been working with a specialised community, like a specialised client base to try and get them out of hospital. They were classified what they called as bed blockers. And these guys need 24-hour nursing care. They have very high needs. And we'd been working. And then all of a sudden, we were told their ward is going to be the COVID ward at the Canberra Hospital. And so they need to be out today. And so we were like, okay, we've been planning for this, but when they have that significant medical needs, to get them out today is not going to work. But I mean, given that they have tracheostomies, two of them like COVID would have meant instant death. Like it would have at the very peak, like, you know, at the very start of it, that highest level of virus would have meant instant death for them. And so, you know, Tash put on her big girl boots and just made it happen, made it absolutely happen. And it was with our clinical manager at the time, and we got them out, we got them home, we got them safe. And so when we hit lockdown in 2021, and I knew this, you know, like Tash and her husband, and who's, you know, owns the businesses with us, he and Tash had been going through IVF treatment. It cost them a lot. They'd rented many houses along the way. And for me, like when we did vision boarding and that kind of thing, and one of my goals was to see them buy their own house. And so on the Today Show, they put up a thing, win 10, 15 maybe 15 grand instantly, and tell us your story. And so I did. I entered Tash and Guy in, and we were the first ones on in the morning. And the producer said to me when she talked to me the day before, bonus points if you can make her cry on TV. Anyway, it was the middle of lockdown, and so Guy then we had to let him in on what was going on, but of course Tash didn't know. And so
just to make sure I was dressed and not in my pajamas.
Lockdown. Yeah. And he's like, "You're going out," and she's like,
shower.
"It's lockdown. Where we could possibly be going?" Anyway, and so of course there I am, all mic'd up. Who do we have? Ali and Carl on the other end of the phone with you know, the cameras rolling and stuff. And we knocked on the door, and because Tash was so instrumental, like, you know, she had been so instrumental in getting these other people their home. So some of them had lived combined in hospital.
Yeah.
I'll let you tell the story. You tell it the best.
Four of them were living in hospital for 18 years combined, not because they required hospital care, but because there was no appropriate accommodation or care provider to maintain their airways in a community setting. When we got asked to do it 7 years prior, we thought absolutely. And I sat there at the planning meeting and told the youngest went into hospital when she was 17. She came out at the age of 21. But I remember sitting across from her mum and saying, this will be her last Christmas in hospital. We're getting them out. The advocate at the time had sourced a builder and whatnot to come and build them a NDIS specific home for them to all move into, and they were just happy for anything. Obviously there was delay upon delay, and so many Christmases ticked over, and I just felt like the biggest fraud for having made that promise at that table 4 Christmases prior. But we did. COVID came around, the house was near but ready, and the clinical coordinator and I at the time stayed there till 2:00 in the morning. We didn't want it to look like your typical disability house, so we went and brought every piece of furniture we possibly could from Harvey Norman and Domain and whatnot in Canberra that was able to be shipped to Australia if it wasn't already in Australia with all the COVID restrictions and whatnot. So the house did look like a nice home for them. And obviously the advocate was hugely instrumental in fighting for them. So we were only on that journey for 7 of those years. It took him 10 fighting just to find service providers. There was no training available to provide this care for them. So, you know, we just thought, I don't understand, they just need care. We'll just hire some tracheostomy trained nurses. So I put an ad out for that. Apparently, if you have that skill, you're only working ICU. So I'm like, oh, okay. So got cricket. I thought, okay, well, we'll just source some training. We'll hire regular nurses and give them the training. There's none of that either. The only qualified or certified training for tracheostomy is usually given by each state or territory's hospital systems, so ACT Health here, and it's, you know, the insertion of a tracheostomy, you know, inserting one or removing one, because they're only ever designed to be short-term, not long-term in a community setting. So my clinical coordinator at the time and myself put ourselves back in school to become trainers and assessors. And we used that time and all the projects that we had to do as part of our assessments to create our own tracheostomy package to deliver to our nurses that we were now employing, so we could provide the care. And the goal is eventually, when we circle back, a lot of circles that we do, is to become an RTO, to have that package recognised and then gift it to Australia so we can improve that standard in NDIS, because there's just a significant knowledge gap there with NDIS and the clinical element that's required.
And since the guys have been out, we celebrate Christmas with bells on every year for them.
Yeah, just the usual things. If they were fully fully able-bodied, they would potentially be at home and it would be their turn hosting Christmas with their friends and family. So we put that on for them every year. So if they wish to invite any of their friends and family, that it would be like it's just their turn in hosting, and we help them do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in saying that, so when we then
Carl,
spoke to Carl and Ali, when I told them, she has now helped, or, her and Guy and our clinical coordinator had helped get these guys their own home, and it's now going to be their turn. So they were gifted $15,000 from the Today Show to help towards a deposit. And in 2024, they bought their first house.
Oh,
So it was a couple of years
congrats.
later, a lot more slugs, but it was an absolute milestone. And they have this amazing family home now that they just adore and totally deserve. So
Oh,
they can put their toes in their grass and feel the sunshine on their faces in their home. Yes.
jeepers. That's a beautiful story.
Yeah, isn't it cool? It was pretty cool because we did get to make her cry on national TV. We had a lot of fun. No, but it was the I think, the recognition that she completely deserved. Like, those people are in this home because of like her constant,
Tosh.
we've got quite a few people, but Tash
course.
was absolutely instrumental. I was ready to pull the pin at 3 or 4 years because, it was bleeding us money. We were giving up other clients,
course.
but she truly believed the cause. And, we had many arguments with NDIS about the quality of care and that type of thing. And we still had to fight and advocate for these guys now, even after they're at home. Every year we have to go back and continue to advocate for them. They're all of a sudden going to stand up and walk and start breathing normally. And
Every year we have to convince them why that's not the case.
Yeah.
Why they're not improved, why they're not rehabilitating, they're not learning to breathe on their own.
They're only going to decline. The conditions and illnesses that they have. It's never going to improve
It's never
for
going to
them.
fix. They're never going to be fixed.
No.
Yeah. So they're not fully funded, and the rate we're going, they're never going to be fully funded. Each year a little bit just gets tacked away. But we refuse to put our nurses' registrations at risk because of that. The upper registrations for nurses completely conflict with what the NDIS practice standards say is acceptable. So because of that, we refuse to put our nurses at risk. So we continue to pay them to be in there 24/7 regardless, because we're not putting them back in hospital, but we're not putting our nurses at risk because of it.
Yeah. And so we know other providers will be just like, I've raised this before. And, we talk to other providers and we know a lot around Australia, and they're just like, just wheel them back to the hospital. They'll make changes. And I was like, why? They don't need to be in a hospital. In fact, they're probably going to pick up something else, which is going to be a bigger detriment to them. Why would we do that? So we've had to, it's come out of our pockets, essentially, our mortgages, our kids' holidays.
We fight a lot of the noise for them so they don't have to wear that.
And the quality of their life is so important. And we've changed that. And so, I guess this is one of the other big influences and impacts that we do have. And that team that see the kindness, that we do display. And I think that is so important as well, because they know, look, our clients' funding, they're not funded 100% for the time that they're there, but we're not going to put our team at risk or our clients at risk for anything. It's just not worth it. So we've got their backs, and if that means one of us has to go in and do something, or we have to go without something or whatever, then we'll do it. It took us, they significantly underfunded one of the clients in the house. They literally cut her package in more than half, and it took us 18 months and a lot of noise. I literally spent most of August and September last year emailing our local members and finance minister, treasurer, disability, you name it. And I just made noise after noise after noise after noise. We went to, because she'd had a tribunal decision that said she was entitled to this funding, but NDIS just wouldn't.
They just decided, no, we're not going to pay.
And some small technicality and all this kind of stuff. And thankfully, with a public service background, I was able to poke enough bears, and we finally received the payment, which was quite significant, for 18 months worth of services finally in November 20 25. Yeah. So it was a huge, huge win for us. But just the advocacy and, the way that they get treated is not okay. And so we're here to disrupt that and change that. That's not okay. And we need to make sure it's not standard. So that's one of the big things that we do as well, is absolutely disrupt and change. Why do we have to settle for things, or why do we have to settle for aged care to be subpar? Why, all those kind of things. And so, for us, that's a big deal. So we got some huge new projects coming on, which will hopefully do the same thing, which we're extremely excited about. We've just put in a whole number of systems and processes and brand new IT systems that have got a lot of AI built into the back of them to help us and support us. Put in a amazing HR system, a shameless plug for Employment Hero, and our rostering system, the Lookout Way. They're forefront leaders, and that's what we want. We want to have the best tools, skills,
The best of each of their industries.
Absolutely. And then that way our team have that, which takes the pressure off them doing administrative tasks and burdens, and
We can use in our lane and
give more care on the floor and deliver the best quality care.
I tell you, if I ever get sick or injured, I'm moving to Canberra and I'm getting you to advocate for me. I tell you, if I ever have a trachea or something, I'm coming down there, because jeepers creep, these people are lucky to have you. Imagine if you weren't in their lives for a moment.
that they would honestly still be in hospital
But I
if they'd
love that
survived
story.
COVID. Yeah.
Life
do know-
changing.
Yeah, there was another client in a similar situation here in Canberra, and the provider and the support coordinator just said, okay, back to hospital. See you later. And we were like, what? No,
What?
no, it's not about the money at the end of the day. Like, sure, we appreciate getting paid, but we've always had a philosophy, do good and the good will come. And we've always put our people, whether that's our clients or our staff, always first. And I think that what sets us apart from so many other providers in our space is that I don't care so much about the bottom line. We'll work that out, and we will sacrifice things or maneuver things. Like we're in an industrial area with our offices. We don't have shiny, flashy offices in the, medical part of town where all our competitors are. We don't care.
Mhm.
We love our building.
Oh,
We love
sure.
where we are. Parking's easy, food's good, it's close to the kids' schools. Like, all the things. Who cares? That's not
love it.
going to. And our team,
Invest.
yeah,
where
well,
it
we
matters.
need to. The quality of our training is second to none. The stuff that we get for our staff, and we have quarterly team meetings, and we generally get a presenter in to speak to them, or if not two. I know you've had beautiful Amanda
Oh,
Thompson
Thompson.
on here. We
Isn't she
absolutely
beautiful?
love Amanda.
Endurance.
She's just amazing. And so we flew her in from Melbourne, got her to talk to our team about their financial situation and circumstances and things, that little changes that they can make do. One of our boys came to us, and he has just bought his second investment property, following some of those tips and skills Amanda gave. And
He was one of our OG employees that we had hired in opening up the tracheostomy house back in COVID, and has been with us for that duration.
Yeah,
It's amazing to
so-
see his growth.
Yeah, so we watched him get his permanent residency, get married. He's just had his first baby last year as well. We get invited to all the things. And so to hear that he's just, got a investment property as well as his own home, and following some of the things, that's huge. Like, we get HESTA, one of our industry super funds is HESTA, and we've had an amazing relationship with them for many years. And they significantly helped a staff member of ours many, many moons ago when my parents had the businesses. And so we've always kind of worked closely with them. And same thing, like, they come in every year and talk about superannuation, because we have a lot of international students on our floor too. And, they come to Australia to study nursing and that kind of thing, and they have no idea why. What is this? What does it mean? And then we've got a lot of obviously young people, and that's why having a financial planning background myself is, like, I always say to them, you need to have this, and these are the reasons why. So getting HESTA in to talk about it, and the girls there in the ACT team are just amazing. They're just beautiful, and they're alongside us at many events and charity events and things too. So they do a lot of give back to our community as well. And
Wow.
so that's really important to us. And just having that information for our team, for them to understand and utilize,
Build their kits.
build their
digital
kits. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So even things like,
ladies,
Nutrition Australia come in and they give us, skills and techniques for working with the residents on the floor, but then they also give our guys, who are a lot of them shift workers, tips and tricks about eating for shift work. So, some for them, some for the clients, and the knowledge they get is amazing. Yeah.
and sleeping for shift work. My lovely wife's a shift worker. She's a train driver, and it's so important to manage your energy and your fatigue. Beautiful, ladies. I really think that there's a part 2 in this one, and I'd love to talk to you about leadership and culture and all that sort of stuff again at some other time. But we try to stick to 30 to 40 minutes. So I might say thank you, and I'll see if I can sum our conversation up. Is that okay? And then I'm just going to look at another camera
Absolutely.
just for a sec. Team, viewers, listeners, how lucky is that? How lucky are we that people like Lisa and Tash will give us their time to talk through all things influence and I think the thing that came through, and we started a project Kind, but I think the thing that came through for me, that whole conversation, was having a positive impact on other humans. And these two ladies, the bent that they put on influence is they're influencing decision makers to get a better outcome for people, because the more you give, the more you get. And they're willing to put their own money, resources, time, talent, and treasure, we call that, on the line to make sure other people don't have to spend their lives in hospital. They get looked after in a very humane way in a house that fits them, with care that suits them and the care that supports them. And I just that conversation for me was really powerful, and I hope it has been for you.
Thank you for listening to the Leaders of Influence podcast with Anton Gink. And if this episode gave you even one idea that you can use this week, can you please do me these 3 things? Follow the show so you never miss an amazing leadership conversation. Share this episode with one leader on your team or on another team who you think could benefit from it. And if you want the full framework, the full experience, and to dive deeper, grab the book Leaders of Influence. By the way, that book's been a week on the bestseller list. It is built to help you lead with conviction, earn buy-in faster, and drive execution without having to chase people. If you want to bring leaders of influence into your business, if you want to have a conversation around how you can create leaders of influence, reach out. Let's talk. The links to connect with us are in the show notes. See you on the next episode.